played upon a ladle, a ladle, a ladle. Played upon a ladle and his name was Zick and Drum.
Seven in One Whack, a fairy tale by Patrick Morrow. Once upon a time in the cheerful city of Winchester, there lived a merry tailor. All day long he stitched his trousers, he stitched his jackets, and he stitched his shirts, and as he stitched, he hummed a merry tune. He was a very cheerful fellow, and the whole street was made sunnier by his cheerfulness. One day, a farmer's wife was selling jam. Jam for sale, jam for sale, who will buy my jam? Oh, yes, please, said the tailor. I would like some jam. Jam is just the thing. Jam makes life sweet. So the farmer's wife came into his shop, climbed up the stairs, carrying her basket full of jam jars. She had little jars, medium jars, and big jars, filled with all sorts of different jams: raspberries, blueberries, marmalade, plum jam. Said the tailor. Before I buy, I like to test. Can I test and taste these jams? The farmer's wife opened the lids, and the tailor put his finger first in one, then another, and the third. He tested every single jar. Meanwhile, the farmer's wife waited, thinking to herself, "Oh, he surely will buy a big jar of jam." But when he had finished testing and tasting, the tailor picked the smallest jar and he said, "This is the one for me, plum jam." And he paid the farmer's wife 3 pennies. And that was that. Well, away went the farmer's wife, and the tailor went to his cupboard and got a loaf of bread. He cut himself a fat slice, and he covered it with jam. Delicious! But first, I will finish these trousers I am stitching. And so with his needle as quick as an arrow, he stitched and stitched and stitched until the trousers were done, and he could eat his jam sandwich. But what was this? Through the window, a fly had flown onto his bread. Bzzz, then another. Bzzz, then another. Bzzz, and another. Bzzz. They were bringing their friends. "I say," said the tailor, "stop that at once. Clear off, you lot. You're not welcome." He said this to the flies, but they didn't speak English and they ignored him. Soon there were hundreds of flies buzzing around his jam sandwich. "You lot, clear off," I said. "This is your last and final warning." But the flies ignored him. So the tailor went into his drawer and he pulled out a fly squat and he said, "Last chance, last warning, I'm warning you." And with that he lifted his arm and he swished through the air. Then he bent down to see. There were 7 flies all in a heap. 7 in one whack. 7 in 1 whack! Well, that's the sort of fellow I am. And he looked in the mirror and he smiled at himself. 7 in 1 whack. I really am a most marvellous fellow. Well, now that the flies had gone, he could eat his jam sandwich in peace. He turned to his pet pigeon, Percival, and he said, "Well, Percival, here's some crumbs for you. Eat them up now, there's a good bird." And whilst Percival the pigeon ate his crumbs, the tailor started to make something. It was a shirt, and on the front of it, the tailor wrote 7 in 1 whack. And when he put the shirt on, he was very pleased. "What a shirt! All the world can see now. 7 in 1 whack! That's the sort of fellow I am. And you know what? I'm going to go out into the world and seek my fortune. And I'll take you with me, Percival." And so he picked up Percival and put him neatly and snugly in his pocket. In his other pocket he put the rest of his loaf of bread and a piece of old cheese that he was saving for a rainy day. He shut up shop and he went out into the wide world to seek his fortune. And as he went, he hummed a merry tune. Dum bum 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 bum. He hadn't gone far when he came to a fallen down tree that was blocking the road. Beside the tree there lay a huge giant, and he was sleeping and snoring. Well, the little tailor went right up to the big fellow and he said, "Wakey, wakey!" The giant continued to sleep. "Wakey, wakey!" When the giant still slept, the little tailor kicked the giant's boot with his foot, and the giant opened his eyes and squinted at the little fellow. "What do you want?" said the giant. "Ah, I'm going to seek my fortune. Why don't you come with me?" "What's a little pipsqueak like you gonna do for me? You're teeny tiny. Now clear off before I flick you away." "I might be small, but looks can be deceiving. Read what my shirt says." The giant peered at the tailor's shirt. 7 with 1 whack. Yes, that's me. 7 with 1 whack. Said the giant. "Well, can you do this?" And the giant picked up a rock and squeezed it with his big fingers until the rock turned to dust. "That's easy enough," said the tailor, and he put his hand in his pocket and he pulled out the cheese that he was keeping for a rainy day and he started to squeeze. He squeezed it until water ran out of the cheese. The giant looked in amazement. "You didn't get water from your rock," said the tailor. Said the giant. Whereupon the giant picked up another rock. He pulled his arm back and he threw the rock into the sky, and it soared up to the clouds and then landed slowly with a thud. "Easy enough," said the tailor, and he put his hand into his pocket very gently. There was Percival. Carefully he held Percival in his hand and rubbed him under his chin just as he loved, and then he threw Percival the pigeon into the sky, and he went up, 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 and he didn't come down. He kept on flying. "Crikey! Crumbs!" said the giant. "That rock didn't come down. 7 in one whack. There's more to you than meets the eye, little fellow. But throwing rocks is one thing. Lifting big trees is quite another. See this big tree here? Can you carry that?" "I can," said the tailor, "but the thing about trees," and here he winked, "is that the rooty end is the light end, and the branchy end is the heavy end. So you carry the rooty end, and I'll carry the branches." "All right," said the giant, as he lifted the heavy tree trunk onto his mighty shoulders with a "Hmm." Meanwhile, the clever little tailor hopped onto the branches and just sat down and whistled his tune. All along, the giant was huffing and puffing, carrying all the tree trunk on his own. Eventually, the giant said, "It's easy for you back there, but I need a rest. This is very heavy." Okay, said the little tailor. And so the giant stopped where he was and put his end down. Straight away, the tailor hopped to the ground and held a branch in his hand. To all the world, it looked as if the tailor had carried the whole tree. The giant scowled at him. "How did you do that?" The tailor smiled and showed him his shirt. "What does that say?" "7 in one whack." "Indeed," smiled the tailor. 7 in one whack. "Well, I'm tired now. I want to go home and have my dinner. Come to my house and you can eat with us." The giant was only pretending to be kind, but the tailor agreed. When he got to the giant's house, there was another huge giant in the kitchen. He'd just cooked a whole sheep for dinner. He broke off a piece and he gave it to the tailor. Well, this would have been enough for the tailor for a whole week. He chewed and he chewed and he chewed, and then it was time for bed. The giant showed the tailor his bed, and it was gigantic. The bed sheets were so heavy they might as well have been made of metal or stone. "I can't sleep under here," said the tailor. "I know. I'll creep under the bed and be snug and warm in my jacket." And that's what he did. In the middle of the night, the wicked giants crept towards the bed. One of the giants clutched a massive frying pan in his big, fat, hairy fingers. He started to whack the bed as fiercely as he could. Whack! Whack! That'll show you, you clever little tailor. Whack! 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 And then the giants looked at the bed. It was a heap of splinters and torn sheets. But the tailor was quite safe, tucked up snug in his jacket. In the morning, the giants had breakfast. Giant breakfast was big buckets of hot porridge, and they shoveled them in one after the other. But the giants dropped their spoons and spilt porridge everywhere when they saw the cheerful tailor walk into the kitchen. But we squished you to 1,000 pieces. We mashed you and crashed you and bashed you, said the other giant. Yes, I did feel a little flea hopping on me in the night. Maybe he bit me, said the tailor. At this, the giants looked at one another and they cried out, "Help!" And they ran from their house as fast as their legs would carry them. And the tailor chased after them, calling out, "Wait for me! Wait for me!" When it was safe, the tailor went back to the giant's house and sat down at the kitchen table. He said, "Porridge, and if I'm lucky, there'll be a little bit of jam." And as he was eating his porridge, there came a knock at the door. "Who could that be?" said the tailor. And when he opened the door, there was a little old woman. "Excuse me, my dear. Could you spare me some food? I'm terribly hungry." "Well, as it happens, I've got a giant portion of porridge going spare. Come in, eat all you like." The old woman sat down with the tailor, and together they gobbled the porridge with jam. Just as she was leaving, the old woman said, "Thank you, my dear. That's very kind. And in return, I want to do you a favour. The king of these parts has a big problem. There are 2 horrible giants that are mashing and crashing and bashing his kingdom. He's promised that whoever can defeat the giants will be made rich beyond their wildest dreams." "Rich beyond their wildest dreams?" said the tailor. "Yes, my dear, yes, that's what the king said." The clever tailor knew exactly what to do. He went back into the forest, and he found the 2 giants sleeping under a big old oak tree. The nimble tailor jumped up the branches of the tree and climbed to the top. The tailor picked an acorn and aimed for the giant's nose. He chucked it as fast as he could. It hit the giant on the nose. "Oi!" said the giant, elbowing his neighbour. "I was sleeping." "I didn't do anything. I was asleep too," said the other giant. Both giants looked crossly at each other. Eventually, they fell back to sleep, but not for long, because the tailor picked another acorn and he chucked it at the giant's nose, and it hit him with a thud. I am sleeping. So am I. You hit me. I did not. Yes, you did. You hit me. I didn't. You hit me. Soon the giants were fighting. They were thumping and kicking and biting and scratching, and then they were picking up trees and whacking each other with branches. Then they were picking up tree trunks and swiping and thwacking and splitting and splatting, and soon both giants lay dead on the floor. They had killed each other. When the tailor was quite sure that they were dead, he took out his pocket knife and he cut off the buttons of their jacket. He put the giant buttons in his bag and he went to the king's palace. As he went through the door, the tailor opened his shirt so everybody could see. The king looked down and said, "What's this, then?" And the tailor said, "Your Majesty, would you be so kind as to read my shirt? 7 in 1 whack." "Yes," said the tailor, "that's the sort of man I am. 7 in 1 whack. And what is more, I have defeated the 2 giants that have been wrecking your kingdom, and to prove it, here are their giant buttons." The tailor showed the king the giant buttons, and the king's soldiers went back into the woods to see if the giants were dead. When they returned to the king, they said, "It's as he says, the giants are dead, and the buttons have been cut off their jacket." "In that case," said the king, "you shall be rich beyond your wildest dreams. Tonight we will have a feast, a splendid feast and party, the like of which the world has never seen." That night, the tailor sat beside the princess at the feast, and it wasn't long before they fell in love. And soon they were married. And on the day of their wedding, before they kissed, the tailor said, "There's just one thing I'm waiting for." "What's that, my love?" "Well, I have a special friend who's not here, but if we can just wait a few moments." There, through the window, there came a flapping of wings. Everybody turned to see what it was. It was a pigeon. The tailor smiled and said, "Ah, Percival, you've come back to me just in time for the wedding."
Played upon a ladle, a ladle, a ladle. Played upon a ladle, and his name was Zick and Drum.
The Tiger Speaks to You, Tales from the Wild Imagination.